Over the last 5 months, we've travelled to 4 different continents and haven't paid for a single flight. Want to know how?
Did you win the lottery? Is hopefully your parents paying? No. Is your OnlyFans paying? No. You admit you have an OnlyFans? What? No!
But first, if you're new around here, I'm Stacey and this is Rosh, and we're travelling the world for 12 months. So far we've been to see Singapore, experienced a European summer, a very cold but beautiful Canada. We spent 3 weeks back at home and went on the first ever Disney cruise in Australia, and now we're in the USA. So let's go find Rosh and we'll give you some insight into how we're doing, what we're doing.
In this video, we're going to show you how we're traveling the world full time. Make sure you stick around to the end of the video where we answer some of your questions from Instagram. But first, I'm going to leave you with Stace to talk about how we've been getting our flights for free. Poof!
Wow.
It's no secret flights are one of the most expensive parts of traveling, especially when you're trying to travel for an extended period of time and across multiple different continents. So you're probably wondering, how have we got all those international flights for free? Now we've done this through the OneWorld Classic Reward Program, which is essentially an around the world series of flights using points. Now there are many different reward programs that exist across the globe. We're from Australia and one of the most popular ones is the Qantas Frequent Flyer program. And because Qantas is part of the OneWorld Alliance, we can use our Qantas Frequent Flyer points to book flights from many different carriers across the OneWorld Alliance. So the OneWorld Classic Reward Program will give you around the world flights for 132,400 Qantas points per person. Now, if you know anything about Qantas Frequent Flyer points, this is an absolute bargain. But of course it comes with some conditions. Now there is a whole list of conditions and it's not something where you can just plug into Google the OneWorld Classic Reward and it'll come up with a little search engine for you, plug everything in, it tells you if you're good to go or if you're not good to go. You really have to wrap your head around the requirements. Some of those key ones are that you can only have up to 5 stopovers and you can only travel a total of 35,000 miles. Now there are heaps of other intricate ones, like if you are a Qantas Frequent Flyer, you must travel with 2 other OneWorld partners as well in that itinerary. It's honestly really complicated, but if you do your research, it really pays off. Now we'll leave a link to a few articles down in the description below that really helped us, but this is a great way to save money on your flights. The only cost you'll have is using your points, and you do have to still pay your flight tax. Now flight tax can also vary depending on where you're flying and what airline you're traveling with, so make sure you do your research. Some of the ones that are known to have a bit of a higher flight tax are airlines like British Airways, so if you can avoid traveling with them, again, that'll reduce your cost even further. Now if you're wondering what an itinerary might look like, I'll tell you our itinerary. So within our 132,400 points, we were able to book flights from Melbourne to Singapore via Hong Kong, Singapore to London, London to Montreal, Vancouver to LA, and we have a flight in a couple of weeks' time, which is our final flight within this round the world ticket, somewhere in the USA, back across to somewhere in Asia. So as you can see, it's an absolute bargain for the amount of points we've used, and again, the only tax we have paid is that flight tax. Now we've booked a bunch of other flights during our travels using points as well. This was separate to the round the world trip, but you can also just use your points to book flights in general. So for example, our flight from LA to Orlando, we booked using points and we only had to pay $6 US each in flight tax. That's right. Our flights all up cost us $12 US from LA to Orlando. So definitely worth looking into using points to book all your flights. Some of the other great points bargains we've got has been our flights from LA back to Australia and from Australia back to LA. If you are a Qantas Frequent Flyer member, they have what are called Classic Reward seats. So you can use your points to book seats on any flight. However, certain flights will have Classic Reward seats where it is a reduced point cost to book those seats. So it's even cheaper. We paid 40,000 points each for each of those flights. So 80,000 for both of us one way, and another 80,000 to get back, which is super cheap for the fact that they are 14-hour flights. Points are a big win. And now I'll get Rosh back in here and she'll explain to you how we accumulated so many points.
I can't believe that worked. Now obviously to use points to book flights, you need a way of accumulating points. And for us, we found the best way to accumulate points was through points earning credit cards. We should preface this by saying that we only ever used the credit card for purchases that we could pay off by the end of the month. And we would only ever apply for credit cards with spending requirements that we were already meeting anyway at the end of the month. Now the types of credit cards available to you will depend on a number of things, like the country you live in, your financial position, and the frequent flyer program you want to earn points for. For us, we have a few credit cards. The one that I found the most beneficial in terms of points earning was definitely the Amex. I think I got over 100,000 points just for signing up and meeting certain spending requirement. From memory, I think it was like $3,000 in the first 3 months, and we were buying a new laptop anyway. So we chucked it on the Amex and we got all those points, and I almost had my around the world flights covered just from that purchase. So it's definitely worth doing your research, checking if there are any bonus points on offer. But as I said before, only spending what you would otherwise spend whether or not you had a credit card. And speaking from a Qantas perspective, there are other ways to earn points as well other than the credit card. Like if you book through Airbnb, I believe you get some Qantas points, Uber as well, if you go to BP for petrol in your car. And something else that I would recommend doing would be searching for Facebook groups relevant to your frequent flyer program, because people are often posting tips and tricks on how you can earn those extra points.
Hey, you took my seat.
My bad.
Something else we recommend is if you are going to apply for these credit cards, you've got to do a lot of forward planning. So don't wait until you're about to leave for your trip to apply for one of these credit cards, because you're not going to have time to earn those points. So we got all our credit cards, we started accumulating them more than a year out from our travels, and we've been through a couple different credit cards each. So a lot of people will use a credit card for a year and cancel it before you have to pay the next annual fee, but it just depends on your situation. Sometimes that credit card gives you the best bang for your buck, and so it's worth holding on to. Sometimes you might not have to pay an annual fee in your first year, so it's not so bad paying it in your second year. So that is our flights, but our budgeting and saving started well before we actually left for our travels. We had to make a lot of cost cuts to try and save up our money to go on our trip. And these were things as little as not eating out a whole lot, not going out for drinks and things like that, but we also sold a lot of different things, big and small.
I sold my car, and we sold pretty much everything in our entire house on Marketplace. Plants, books, furniture. It was a lot.
But every dollar helps, and especially if you are giving up your house or your apartment or whatever it is, selling all those things that you don't really need to keep while you travel will definitely help out a whole bunch.
And it saves money on storage. All right, so we've talked about how we can cut cost on flights, but there are obviously a lot of other expenses when traveling, such as accommodation.
Yeah, so accommodation was a big one for us, and that's probably been our biggest learning curve so far. So the cheapest accommodation, and what most people will think about, will be hostels. And while they can be super cheap, this will depend on what continent you're in, what country you're in, on how cheap they are, and whether you stay in dorms versus private rooms. So we mostly did private rooms to start our time in Europe, which was relatively cheap. We were there in peak season, but what we found is despite saving a lot of money on accommodation, we spent a lot more money on food than we otherwise would have to. Because most hostels don't have cooking facilities, some don't even have a microwave or a fridge or a kettle. So pretty much every meal you have to buy something that needs to be eaten that meal, which means you're spending a lot of money.
Or not eating.
Or not eating, which is not great and we don't recommend. So one of the best ways to save money while traveling is cooking things or buying food that lasts more than one meal. And the best way to do that is obviously through cooking. So we ended up changing some of our accommodation, and any accommodation we hadn't booked, we really went towards Airbnbs with kitchens. And that allowed us to cook a lot more of our food and buy things that could be reused over multiple days. So we did a lot of cooking, a lot of pasta, fried rice. We were able to buy oats and milk, things like that, that could last multiple days. And that meant we were saving a lot more money on food. And we just found the cost difference between an Airbnb and a private room in a hostel wasn't that big. So saving that extra money on food really made a big difference for us.
I'd say at the very least, you need at least a microwave and a fridge to get yourself by, because we really struggled without those two items. Now, we've been really lucky to be able to stay with family on a number of occasions so far. So that is something we definitely recommend if possible. We know that it's not possible for everyone, but we were able to stay with my nana in Ireland. We also stayed with Stacey's mum through London and Paris. And then we had 2 weeks in Canmore and Banff with my aunt and uncle. So now's probably a good time to say thank you to all of you who helped us along the way.
The one other way that we found super helpful, and this is actually our first time doing it, is going through a house sitter program or a pet sitter program. So we're using Trusted House Sitters, not sponsored at all, that's just the website we found. We're doing a house sit at the moment here in Orlando, Florida. We're looking after a few furry friends for a couple of weeks, and this is a really great way to save money on accommodation. Essentially how it works is that you don't pay to stay in their house, but in return you're obviously looking after their house and their pets if they have any. Now this can range from looking after one cat that requires zero attention, or some of the ones we saw had 5 dogs, 2 horses and a rabbit. So it really just depends, but they're all across different regions. There were heaps of them in the United States, and it's a great way to visit places you might not have otherwise visited.
We applied for a few different sits when we were back in Melbourne, and we were lucky enough to get this one in Orlando, and it's been really, really good so far. And speaking of Orlando, it's looking really nice outside, so I think we'll head outside and answer some of your questions.
A big thank you to everyone who submitted their questions over on Instagram. If you don't follow us on Instagram, it's at Go for Launch Videos. We'll put it on the screen there, but let's get into some of these questions. So first up, we've got, how do you find missing space and your own stuff? So this one is interesting. So space-wise, we've actually been okay. I think the times we've found it the most hard is when we've been in small hostel rooms, and it's not so much needing space from each other, it's more just needing more space. So you end up living on your bed, editing on your bed, hanging out on your bed. So that was more the issue. In terms of space with each other, I mean, we could have used a little bit more a few times, but we've actually done okay. Now, in terms of our stuff, we actually did really well for the first leg of the trip, and we really adapted to living out of just a suitcase. So much so that when we got back to Melbourne, for the first week or so, we really were just still living out of our suitcase. But once we started to get into a bit of our stuff in Melbourne, it made it a lot harder to leave it. And we have been struggling a little bit our first few weeks back on the road. When you're full-time traveling, especially on a budget, you are full-time traveling, which means you have to give up a lot of your other hobbies while you do that. Now, me personally, I have a lot of hobbies that require things like Funko Pops and Pokemon and jigsaw puzzles, Disney Lorcana, Lego, so none of those really are compatible with budget full-time travel. So getting into a little bit of that back at home did make it a little bit hard to leave some of those hobbies behind, but otherwise we've done pretty well living with our small suitcases.
All right, next question. What has been the most challenging or unique thing that you didn't expect? This is not a hard question for me to answer at all. The most challenging thing for me was definitely leaving my fur baby at home. It's so sad. But in terms of the actual travel, something we found really challenging is managing the fatigue, because during the early days we were very much go, 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 maybe in a place for a few days and then on to the next. We were trying to pump out videos really quick. If we weren't filming, we were editing. It was a lot. It was really, really fun, but we burnt out really, really quick. So I would advise staying in places for a little bit longer, taking it in and enjoying it. And as well as trying to stay in places for that little bit longer, I would try to factor in a day off or two, at least a day off every week, like you would get at home in a normal job, because otherwise you will burn out.
Okay, next question we've got, how is Rosh so pretty? Okay, next one. Do you do contra or cash jobs while you're traveling to help out? This is a very popular question we get from family and friends. We are not doing anything like that at the moment. Now, it's not to say we won't, but before we left, we really focused on trying to save enough money that we wouldn't have to do anything like that. And our first kind of 4 to 5 months were very fast paced, and we were on the move every 4 or 5 days. So we didn't really have a lot of opportunity to do any cash jobs or things like that. But in saying so, what we're doing at the moment is kind of a little bit like that in terms of house sitting. So we're getting free accommodation, and in return we're looking after someone's pets. So that's kind of the most we've done in that space, but it's not to say we won't do anything like that in the future.
Next question. What happens if you run out of money? We go home. That or we start an OnlyFans. But in all seriousness, when we started planning for the year and saving for the year, we set a budget for our travels, and the goal was to stick within that budget for the whole 12 months. Having said that, we also have an amount that we want to return home to. Now, if it gets to, let's say, 10 months or 11 months, we're having so much fun, but we've gone over budget, there is maybe a possibility that we'll dip into those emergency funds, but it'll just depend on how much longer is left, if we're having a lot of fun, and what we want to do when we go home, I suppose. I mean, the OnlyFans isn't out of the question.
And this is the last question. So what advice would you give someone going or traveling on a cruise ship for the first time? Now, we've only done 2 cruises ourselves, but we've absolutely loved the cruise lifestyle. So there are so many different bits of advice I could give about cruising. One that I wish someone gave to me was that the first day on the cruise ship will be quite stressful, particularly when we embarked on the Royal Caribbean one last year. We got on the ship and it seemed like everyone knew what they were doing except for us. So it's definitely a bit of a chaotic first day, but just make sure you research what sort of things you can do as soon as you get on board in terms of what food will be open, what different onboard activities will now be available to book and things like that. But don't let it stress you out too much. You'll get in to do all the activities you want to do and just enjoy your first cruise. Okay, so thank you again to everyone who submitted questions over on Instagram. If you guys enjoyed doing a little Q&A, let us know and we'll do another one. But some final closing points from us. So we budget and track every single thing we spend on this trip, which is super important to make sure you're on track with your budget. And we're pretty hard on ourselves in terms of what we spend. But in saying that, don't be too hard on yourselves. And that goes for saving for the trip as well. You don't want it to become a burden. At the end of the day, it's your trip and you want to do the things you want to do. You want to look back on the trip and know you did the different activities you wanted to do, you tried the foods you wanted to try and things like that. So let yourself splurge a little bit every now and then and make sure you pick out the things that are most important to you, and they're the things you spend a little bit extra on.
And if you have any tips that you'd like to share or any other questions, drop them down in the comments below and we'll be happy to answer them. But apart from that, thank you very much for watching. If you liked it, make sure you press that like button because it pushes the video out to more people and it really helps out our channel. And if you haven't already, subscribe, because as we've said, we've got a fair bit to go. We're almost halfway through our full year of travel and we're having a really great time so far, and we would love for you to join us.
That being said, we'll see you in the next video.
Bye.
Bye.